How bad is the bank run and the banking collapse? I don't know. There's a lot of people in the financial industry and sector saying everything's fine. You don't have to worry about anything. You got Democrats like Joe Biden saying, don't worry about it. Your deposits are safe. You got a lot of people saying the end is nigh. Silvergate Bank, a smaller bank, collapses, followed by SVB, the second largest bank collapse in U.S. history, followed by Signature Bank, the third largest bank collapse in U.S. history. And now we're hearing that Credit Suisse is next to fall because the bond market is collapsing. I don't know. Not a financial guy. I'm starting to get worried. I will not come on to YouTube, onto my show, and play any kind of game where I can say, run for the hills and take your money, or everything's fine. Don't worry about it because I really just don't know. But I will be honest with you. Let me show you this story. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly reportedly calls for censoring social media companies to prevent bank run. He denies. I really don't believe him because you had a bunch of people on this call with financial executives and politicians. And apparently he asked, is there a way to censor social information on social media that would stop a bank run? That question right there has me worried. What's really going on behind the scenes? If another bank, a fourth bank, is set to fall, if the bond market is predicting a collapse, then I don't know what I'm supposed to believe, but I'll tell you this. You're going to get a lot of people in media who are going to come on their shows and say, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Maybe they're right. You're going to get a lot of internet personalities, anti-establishment types who are coming out and saying the end is nigh and run for the hills. Perhaps that is the case. What would you do? That's my question to you. Comment below. What do you think people should do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to start shoring up my financial defenses. I'm going to make sure that I have properly distributed funding for my business and myself to maximize my insurance. I am going to, I don't know if cash is the right thing to have, but I'm being advised by some friends, not financial experts or anything. They're telling me like, hey, just get some cash ready. You might need it. And some people are saying buy silver. Some people are saying buy crypto. And it's hard to know exactly who to trust. But when you see a story like this, two stories actually. The first, that Credit Suisse may fall. And then you see this story where a Democrat's like, we got to censor this. Otherwise, there will be a run on the banks. Well, I'll tell you this. First and foremost, he may be right. I read this really interesting thread talking about how Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. And apparently they weren't doing that bad, nor was Signature. The problem is people freaked out. They were doing fairly bad. Now, I don't know about Signature. Some people are saying they were fine, they were solvent, but my understanding is so is SVB. What happened apparently with Silicon Valley Bank is that they were doing okay and they wanted to raise money. Following the collapse of Silvergate Bank, a smaller bank, them coming out and saying we need to raise money caused a panic. They didn't tell people what was going on. So then people who are all in the tech sector started saying like, hey, man, I think SVB might go out, get your money out, which, well, self-fulfilling prophecy. The same may be true for the entire financial sector. So I don't know. Mark Kelly has a point. If everybody goes online and screams the end is nigh, then the end really is nigh. And that's what's worrying to me. Am I the kind of person that sees a panicky mob and then says, no, they'll get their act together. Everything will be fine. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm the kind of person that sees a panicky mob and says, I better get out of here before it's too late. That's what has me worried. Because I'll put it this way. If you operate under the assumption that everything's fine, and we'll call this the banking wager. I'll give you a simple mathematical equation, which I'm probably going to get a lot of people angry at me for doing, but I'm not here to lie and placate you. I'm here to tell you how I truly feel about these things and what I think is happening. The banking wager. Are you familiar with Pascal's wager? Now, Pascal's wager goes, if God exists and I believe in him, then I go to heaven. If God exists and I don't believe in him, then I go to hell. If God doesn't exist and I believe in him, doesn't matter. If God doesn't exist and I don't believe in him, it doesn't matter. Therefore, the smartest and safest position in that logic is to have faith in God. I don't think that's actually a great logic, but that's how the logic goes. The banking wager would be this. If everything is fine and you take your money out of the bank, it doesn't matter. You have your money. If everything is fine and you leave your money in the bank, doesn't matter. everything is fine. If everything is not okay and the banks are on the verge of collapse and you take out your money, you are safe. If everything is not fine and you leave your money in the bank, you're in serious trouble. So there's only one option for the average person watching all of this news, and this is why they are scared of a bank run. If you do nothing, then you're either neutral to negative. If you actually took money out, you're in a safe position. Let alone if you took money out and bought Bitcoin or something. I'm not giving you advice. I'm saying if there really is a collapse, my Bitcoin goes up. My silver, my gold goes up. Dollar. So doing nothing is not an option. There's just no logic to that, except for we must all stand together united not to pull our money out of the banks for each other to prevent a bank run. I mean, honestly, kind of noble. But I tell you this, it's going to be every man for themselves, for himself, for herself. We're progressive here, right? I can only tell you that I'm not saying you should do anything. I don't know. But I'm saying that's what people are going to be thinking right now with more reports about financial instability. Let me show you this. This is the NASDAQ Bank Index I showed yesterday. It's down nearly 10%, minus 9.87. First Foundation Inc., I believe this is these are all banks, minus 33. Zion's minus 25. And if you go down to where it starts getting positive, there's like, what is this, like 13 banks that are positive, and the best is Landmark with 2.9%. Everyone else seeing a major hit. I do not know what this will turn into. All I know is there's real fear about a bank run. So much so that it is being reported a Democrat senator said we need to censor information. We have this tweet from Thomas Massie I highlighted yesterday morning. He says, just got off a Zoom meeting with the Fed, Treasury, FDIC, House, and Senate. A Democrat senator essentially asked whether there was a program in place to censor information on social media that could lead to a run on the banks. And then he publishes this Substack saying his name. And here it is from public.substack.com. During a conference call about the Silicon Valley Bank bailout yesterday, Senator Mark Kelly asked representatives from the Federal Reserve, Treasury Department, and FDIC if they had a way to censor information on social media to prevent a run on the banks, according to a Republican member of the House of Representatives who were on the call. The members said there were roughly 200 people on the Zoom call, including senators, House members, and staff members from both parties. Our conference call, led by Chuck Schumer, with the Fed, asked three agencies if there's a program underway on social media to censor information that would lead to a run on the bank, Massie told Public. I believe he couched it in a concern that foreign actors would be doing this, said Massie. But he didn't suggest the censorship should be limited to foreigners or to things that were untrue. The people from the three agencies couldn't answer him and just sort of took a pass on the question. So if this video ends up disappearing, you'll know exactly why. Lauren Boebert tweeted, on a briefing with Biden Undersecretary of the Treasury, Nellie Lang, regarding the SVB bailout, they are working towards, on a briefing with, they are working towards, and a member asked if they were reaching out to Facebook and Twitter to monitor misinformation and bad actors. Dan Bishop, chairman of the Subcommittee on Oversight, Investigations, and Accountability, confirmed the accounts of Massie and Boebert, and a rep for Boebert's office confirmed that a member she was referring to was a Democratic senator. You have multiple people on this call saying they are worried about this. I have confirmed with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy that it was Senator Mark Kelly who asked on last night's Zoom call whether the call hosts were interacting with social media platforms and on the lookout for foreign influence that might promote bank runs. Democrats say Republicans are also calling for censorship. A spokesperson for the Senate, I'm just going to say right here, I don't care about politics in this regard. If both sides are like, they're both trying to censor this, fine. Play the game. The collapse is happening. If both sides are pointing at each other saying they're trying to censor information because they're worried about a bank run. Sounds like everybody's worried about a bank run, doesn't it? I'll say it again. I don't want a bank run. That's scary. I don't want the system to collapse. I'm worried about it. I got a business. I don't just have a family. I have staff. And I have people who are all here working, relying on this company functioning. And if the system crumbles, what do we do? So I want everybody, I genuinely want everyone to sit back, order some chicken wings, have a nice drink, and watch a game. And don't worry your sweet little heads about this. But my business is not built upon lulling people into a false sense of security. I really do think things are going to be fine. But I think also at the same time, it's going to be bad. What I mean to say is things will get worse, but it will not be apocalyptic. I don't know if this will be the big one. I don't know, man. I laid it out in the beginning. The banking wager, as I just called it. That if nothing's happening, take your money out. So what? You got cash in an envelope. Nothing's happening, you leave your money in. So what? You got cash in a bank. But if something is happening and you leave your cash in the bank, you'll lose it all. And if something is happening, you take your cash out, you got cash in an envelope. That means mathematically, logically speaking, the only thing anyone could do is start taking cash out of a bank. I'm not saying this to encourage you to do so. I'm saying that's what I see happening. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who ignore it. There's a lot of people who have no idea what's going on in the world. That is why I think people are probably going to start pulling out money. There was reporting that transfers and withdrawals, were stagnating because so many people were trying to move money out of regional banks. Why would anyone paying attention to the news sit back? There is no upside to doing nothing, and there's infinite upside to doing something. That's the scary thing about bank runs. This was the first Twitter-fueled bank run, said McHenry. At this time, it is important to remain level-headed and look at the facts, not speculation, when assessing the right path forward. No, you know what? I'm sick of it. The banking system is a Ponzi scheme as it is. And if this is what happens with the rapid spread of information, so be it. So be it. They think that they can sit back and censor us when they're floating this Ponzi scheme. Sorry. You know how that works? You put money in a bank. Bank uses your money for other things, and they're hoping, fingers crossed, that everybody doesn't take their money out all at the same time. Because then the bank doesn't have the money to pay out. It collapses. People will start showing up to their bank. Let me tell you something, my friends. We need cash. We need petty cash for things, the normal business function. I went to the bank to pull out cash, and they told me, this was months ago, I wasn't able to. And that if I wanted to, I had to put in a special order. There was a cap on how much I could take out. And I went, what? Yeah. I've heard it from other people. Put in an order and we'll get you the cash you need. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make sure that I've opened up a bunch of bank accounts because the FDIC makes little sense. Because if you have, someone tweeted this, I think it was a Kobasi letter I was referencing the other day. If you have $1 million in one bank, you're insured to $250K. If you have $1 million in four banks, your $1 million is completely insured. That really does make little sense. But it is what it is. They say what's more. Kelly's call for censorship comes at a time of growing demands from Democrats for more censorship by social media companies. So we get it. Here's the scary news. Credit Suisse shares fall to all-time low as bank announces it has found material weakness just hours after Wall Street expert predicted that it would be the next to fall. Here's what people are saying. This is tracking alongside the 2008 collapse. First, there was some turmoil in March, then September. It's March. Are we going to wait till September to find out? I don't think anyone's going to. The spread of information is too fast. I think it will happen way, way faster. I think if this does track this way, let me read a little bit more. On Tuesday morning, Credit Suisse published its annual report, which revealed an $8 billion loss in 2022. The bank had been due to publish the report last Thursday, but was sent back to review its books by the SEC. Today, Credit Suisse said the weaknesses were down to a failure to design and maintain an effective risk assessment process to identify and analyze the risk of material misstatements. Oh boy. Well, I hope y'all are ready for what's going to be coming. The Kobasi letter says, February CPI shows inflation at 6% in line with expectations. Core CPI shows inflation at 5.5 in line with expectations. We have collapse in the regional banking system with 6% inflation. This is a costly fight against inflation. That's right. Kobesi letter says JP Morgan, Citigroup, and other large financial institutions trying to accommodate customers wanting to move deposits quickly. In other words, regional banks are losing customers quickly. There is outsized risk with large deposits at regional banks. Large banks win. Oh, man. I don't know what you should do. Update. JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup are trying to handle the largest movement of deposits in over a decade. There is no reason to bank with a small financial institution right now. Risk to reward, it just doesn't make sense. Seriously? I don't know what this video is. I probably shouldn't just play it, but this is getting crazy, man. The backstop of SVB deposits is worthless without backstopping the rest of the banks. If one bank is backstopped, then the run begins on the next one. This is the situation that the FDIC has created. They avoided a collapse of SVB. Now they must do the same for everyone else. This is why they want to censor information. If it is true that Chase and Citigroup are handling the largest movement of deposits in over a decade, the bond market is worse than 2008, and you've got prediction that another bank is set to fall after 3 have already fallen, why would anyone think their money is safe? I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not going to come on here and be like, ignore it. Everything will be fine. Pull a Jim Cramer. Back in the 2008 collapse, everybody goes on TV and they say, everything's fine. You know, I'm hearing that some of these executives were selling off shares and moving their money right before this happened. They don't want you to panic because they want to get out first. Think of it this way. A large mob is moving through the streets screaming, running the banks. If you can make it to the bank first, you get your money out. So what happens? They send out their Jim Cramers to run up to the mob and go, everyone, listen. Give me one quick moment to explain what's happening. They draw it out. They make it verbose as possible. Now, all of you are angry about the banks, right? Let me tell you, the way the bank works, and then everyone stopping and listening and be like, what's he saying? Meanwhile, his buddies are out pulling their money out as fast as they can. This is scary stuff. Because I'd love to come on this show and just be like, everything's fine, ignore it. Everything's totally fine. Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not saying everything's it's the end of the world or anything like that. Maybe it's not. I just don't think, man, I don't know. I told this story the other day on IRL because I hang out at the casino on weekends. It's funny because people like have shown up like, hey, there he is. Sure enough, he's here. I was like, yeah, you know, play poker. Poker with the boys. You know, it's fun. It's relaxing. You disconnect. You get away from all the noise. And the people there really have no idea what's happening. Some do to a certain degree, but many of them, a handful of them know who I am. And so they're paying attention. They're active. But I've heard people just be like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Those are the people that are going to be running full speed to the bank in a week if this goes south. You're hearing it now. I don't want to encourage anyone to do anything. I'm just saying, if this really does get bad, the people who have been paying attention will be fine. And the people who are not paying attention will be angry. This is why I say it's important to follow the news. Because imagine you are in your village. You're in a small village and someone outside is going, hear ye, we have important word. And you go, I don't care about his important word. I'm making a stew. And then all of a sudden you hear rumbling. It's horses. And then a bunch of barbarians ransack everything and kill your family. And I know it's a pretty brutal way to describe it. The point is, the people went outside and listened to the hear ye, and he says, a horde approaches. Quick, everyone, gather your things and flee. Or shore up your weapons and defenses. Whichever. The guy who wasn't paying attention gets trampled. I don't know, man. I maybe this is it. We had this story. This one kind of got overlooked by a lot of the news. Crypto-focused bank Silvergate shut down its operations. Here we go. Don't worry. We got breaking news. Just popped up at the top of CNBC. Dow rallies 300 points as it tries to snap 5-day slide. Regional banks rebound. Look at that. The bonds are improving. U.S. stocks rose on Tuesday as bank stocks mounted a comeback. They went up, blah, blah, blah. Did they? Look at that. 8% up right at open. Okay. All right. I pulled it right up right when the breaking news happened. You saw right there. So maybe we good. Look at this. This is actually fairly good news. I mean, if you bought in yesterday when everyone was panicking, you made a good amount of money. And if you sold, you got hurt. Look, man, like I said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. People are going to freak out. But in real time, I got the breaking news, pulled at the NASDAQ Bank Index, and these banks have just jumped 8 points. That's a near 20, that's a 17-point swing. So that's pretty good news. If you bought in when they were down 30%, what was that one bank that was down 30? That was it Foundation or something? Let's see. Let's do this. Where's the, whoa, Pac West is up 64%. Some people just made a whole lot of money. I kind of feel like seeing this, it may be fine. I'm gonna chill out a little bit. This is good news, right when the things open up. So we'll see how people handle it. Once again, y'all are in the know. Is the safest move to move your money? Perhaps. Because that other news, it happened. But now we're seeing a major stock rebound, which is really good news for a lot of these companies. A lot of these, man, the one, imagine, I think Pac West was down like 20%. It's like an 80-point swing. A lot of money was just made. I'll tell you what. We'll see. We'll see, man. Do what you think is right for yourself. Be prepared. Maybe this is a blip. People will get through it. We'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.